Have you ever seen a country mobilize its farmers to leave their fields and work in steel production? No need for engineers. No need for furnaces. No need for logic. Just faith and slogans. And the result? A disaster that led to tens of millions of deaths from starvation. This is the Great Leap Forward, a historic leap that China still hasn't landed from.
Welcome to Cool Past, where history isn't just a list of dates, but a series of ridiculous, fascinating, and surprisingly human stories.
First, let's look at the context of China between 1949 to 1957. In 1949, the Communist Party launched land reform and agricultural collectivization. But the party was divided internally. The moderate faction wanted to proceed cautiously, waiting for industrialization to finish before collectivizing agriculture, while the radical faction led by Mao Zedong wanted to collectivize immediately so the state could control agricultural products and accumulate capital for industrialization. Mao pushed for the cooperative model, despite opposition from farmers, along with a series of deep social reforms: abolishing religion, traditional rituals, improving the status of women, and controlling domestic movement through passes. However, initial collectivization failed, leading to a famine in 1956, prompting the moderates to call for a halt. At the same time, Khrushchev's speech in 1956 criticizing Stalin's cult of personality, bloody repression, abuse of power, and destruction of collective leadership principles in the party caused Mao to fear a revisionist movement. In response, Mao launched the 100 Flowers campaign in 1957, encouraging free speech and criticism. But when the criticisms became too strong, he turned to suppression through the anti-rightist campaign led by Deng Xiaoping, arresting about 500,000 people, silencing any dissent. Mao began to distance himself from the Soviet model, believing that China needed its own path, more radical, more progressive, and the Great Leap Forward was the fateful step. The Great Leap Forward was the name given to the second five-year plan, which was expected to run from 1958 to 1963. Mao believed that using China's massive population could help rapidly transition the country from an underdeveloped agricultural economy to a modern industrial society in the blink of an eye. It was an enormous ambition, almost unbelievable, that right after unifying the country, China aimed to outpace the United Kingdom within a record time, 15 years. Oh no, 10 years. Actually, 5 years would be enough. Mao probably thought that with the revolutionary zeal of the entire nation, anything could be achieved. He instructed the entire population to produce steel. Every village had to have a people's steel furnace. Steel was the top priority, to the point where people were forced to destroy their homes and melt household items, from pots, pans, iron doors to plows. Farmers and workers were pulled from their fields, factories, and hospitals to work in crude furnaces, places where, with just a bit of knowledge, it was clear that they only produced useless piles of iron. But Mao didn't need experts. He believed in the power of the people, distrusted intellectuals, and after the 100 Flowers campaign, no one dared speak out, even when the whole country was falling into a collective delusion. The result, in 1958, steel production increased from 5.35 million tons to 11 million tons. But 60% of this output was scrap metal, unusable, called garbage iron. In the communes, revolutionary agricultural initiatives, imposed by Mao, were based entirely on faulty assumptions. From planting seeds densely, believing that seeds of the same species would love each other, to plowing the soil very deeply, to make the roots stronger, and even someone suggesting letting land lie fallow so the soil could rest. Most of these ideas were inspired by Lysenko, the Soviet biologist famous for mistakes. The peak was the Lushan Conference in 1959, where the only person who dared to speak frankly was Marshal Peng Dehuai. But in a regime intolerant of truth, dissent was betrayal. Peng was removed from the government, labeled a capitalist rotor, and purged. At this point, Mao didn't care about being right. He just wanted no one to dare disagree. Along with the abolition of the cooperatives, the destruction of individual life in favor of the People's Commune, with communal kitchens aimed at controlling food and promoting collective production. But life didn't go as planned. Losing the sense of ownership, people had no motivation to work because doing more or less made no difference. Without work, how could there be rice production? Along with these economic policies, there were natural disasters and even the sparrow extermination campaign, a self-destructive effort that devastated the land, resulting in crop yields declining. However, local governments still competed to exaggerate their achievements, reporting rice yields 10 to 100 times higher than the actual figures. Fake reports, nationwide lies. But the central government believed it and confiscated all the grain, leaving local people with nothing to eat. In state storage, rice was stacked into mountains. Outside the commune gates, people collapsed from hunger. They didn't die because there wasn't rice, they died because the rice wasn't for them. The rice was for reporting. The rice was for export. The rice was for the military, for the officials, for the dream of surpassing Britain. The people who grew the rice had no ration cards, so they had no right to live. In a country where speaking the truth was reactionary, even hunger had to be endured in silence. It is estimated that about 30 million people died from starvation due to Mao's Great Leap Forward policies during the harsh years of 1959 to 1962. If we add the number of those who died from oppression, punishment, or purges, who knows how many it would be. Here, there were no guns, no bombs. Only food ration stamps distributed as a favor, and slogans hanging in the sky as if belief could replace bread. How many lives were lost this way? But no one was ever judged. No official apology. No memorials. The Great Leap Forward is a long bloodstain on the map of a nation, where trust was distorted, and people were taught to remain silent in order to survive. They called it the Great Leap Forward. But no one said, where did it leap from? And what did it fall onto? Tens of millions of people starved in fields that once grew rice, which is truly heartbreaking. See you in the next video from Cool Past, where we'll peel back another layer of dust, about policies that dug into the ground, but led to unimaginable consequences. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring human history with its unforgettable twists.